Hey everyone, it's Yvonne Emil Elizondo from Silver Moon Astrology and Transpersonal Counseling, also known as Silver Moon Counseling. And I'm here because we have two planets that are about to turn direct, and I'm very, very excited because I have been really like duking it out with Mercury retrograde in Capricorn and Mars retrograde in Gemini for I'm just so grateful these two planets are moving direct. But before I do, I wanted to say thank you all very much for the beautiful birthday wishes. I had a very magical birthday, and it was on the 7th of January. I am a very Capricorn baby. I have 5 planets in Capricorn, and so I'm a very, very Capricorn kind of gal. So thank you very much to everybody who wished me a beautiful birthday. I want to share some of the gifts that I received for this birthday. I was amazing. So this mala is from Amsterdam. One of my beautiful friends, Julie, gifted me this beautiful mala. It's lapis. I have been using it to really get into my chant work. I love it. I also received this beautiful tarot deck. This is amazing. This is super amazing. We're going to be doing some really good tarot readings with this, and it's the Shimmering Veil Tarot. Thank you. Thank you. These two were from Julie. Thank you so much. I also received this beautiful, Sweet Soul gifted this to me. This is moonstone and labradorite. Look at that little piece of labradorite right there. You can tell it's shiny. It's amazing. And then the wrapping work on this is just beautiful. Look at that. Okay. I believe she gifted me this from Athena Magic on Etsy. So I like to do a shout out to Athena. I don't know who she is, but she is absolutely beautiful work. Look at that. I'm about to cleanse this beautiful piece so I can wear it. And then my daughter gifted me another beautiful piece of labradorite. Look at this. This one is the seafoam green. And let me get that out of the way. This is the seafoam green. And then, of course, she gifted me this last year for Christmas, the blue, but look at this beautiful. Yes. So thank you all very, very much. I absolutely love my gifts. It was a really great birthday. And so I'm very excited to wear these and jewels and to work with these tools. So now let's get back to Mercury retrograde and Mars retrograde, and let's figure out what's going on and give you some examples of how these two planets have been totally misbehaving because, of course, they're in retrograde, so they're supposed to misbehave. So let's start off with Mars in Gemini, because Mars has been in Gemini for 6 months since last August, and Mars usually doesn't take that long to travel, or transit through a specific zodiac sign. It's usually, I don't know, if it's anywhere, depending on the cycle, anywhere from like 6 weeks to like 2 months, but it's usually more like 2 months. But anyhow, so but this time it entered Gemini, couldn't find my words, and then it retrograded in Gemini, and now it's about to move direct in Gemini and finish its walk through Gemini. So it won't be out of Gemini. Mars will not be out of Gemini until March, the end of March, 23rd, 24th, I think. But it's been creating havoc. So let's talk about Mars in Gemini. And then the other piece component is Mercury retrograde the last 3 weeks has been in Capricorn. And man, these two planets have just, I said, misbehaving. So during Christmas time, and these are perfect examples of how these two planets can create havoc, right? So these two planets are both about movement and action. Okay, so Mars is about movement, action, explosion, right? There's the energy, there's motivation, there's inflammation. Okay, there's a separation. All right, but ideally it's preferred to as a malefic planet. Okay, now what that means. And it's not necessarily I don't attribute Mars as a malefic planet necessarily in the natal chart. Okay, it's different in the natal chart. But when it's transiting, moving around, then I do consider it more of a malefic planet like Saturn, because they create challenges so we can learn and grow. Whatever. Anyhow, so Mars in transit is a malefic planet. So it is going to create problems, situations that you're going to have to fix and figure out so that you can learn and grow and become better if that's what you want to do. So it is a separation, inflammation, and that means anger. That means like, emotional, upheaval. Okay. But it is a movement planet. Now, Mercury is also a movement planet because it's like the messenger of the gods, right? It takes information from one place to another. It's about taking words to communication. It's about travel. Okay. It's about air travel. You see where I'm going with this here? You guys know where I'm going with this here. If you watch the news, which I rarely do, except for when stuff like this happens, and then I'm like, oh, it's astrology. But anyhow, so Mars is the planet of travel. So I hope none of you have had to face this, right? But during the Christmas season, we had this breakdown of communication, literally, okay, with Southwest Airlines, okay, and there was a huge, massive delay. Delays are represented by Mercury, okay? Delays in movement action are retrograde planets represented by Mars retrograde. So these two planets were behaving badly. Now, let me add on to that. Mars in Gemini, Gemini represents travel, okay? It represents movement, okay? It's kind of like the bee that goes and pollinates everything. Gemini energy is very social and it's very movement oriented, okay? And so let me show you, I'm going to show you the chart because this is actually really cool the way it works out in the astrology. So here we go. All right, so here is Gemini. This is today's date. This is not for the day that the Southwest, debacle happened. This is for the 14th, but I'm going to use this chart just to give you an idea. So here's Gemini. Here's Gemini energy. The planet that rules Gemini is Mars. Okay, Mars, Mercury. Let's try that again. Cancel, cancel, delete, delete. Okay, here's Gemini. Hello, Yvonne. There we go. Okay, it is an air sign. The planet that rules Gemini is Mercury. Mercury is retrograde. It's not feeling very good right now. But guess who's in the house of Gemini? Mars. Mars retrograde. Okay, so if Gemini, here's Gemini once again. Okay, so we're going to look at Mercury. Mercury is not doing very well. Okay, Mercury is, Mercury is in Capricorn, but it's in retrograde. Then the guest in Mercury's home, Mars, isn't going to feel very comfortable, feel very well. It's not going to do very well. They're both misbehaving. Okay. So you see how that happens? Okay. So this is the perfect example of what happened with the Southwest airline, issue is that we had a breakdown in communication. Okay, travel stopped, right? There was, and again, Mars is movement forward, but when it's in retrograde, it doesn't move forward correctly. It's in Gemini, it can be sporadic. It can be kind of energy moving in all different directions at time. Or when Mars, gets Mercury retrograde involved, they're like, no, let's just shut everything down. Pretty much what happened. But then it happened again. Okay, just a few days ago, the FAA had to shut ground, the flights because they had some communication issues again. Now, I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of what the communications issues were because that's not my job. But once again, Mars is inflaming. Okay, Mars is agitating this Mercury retrograde, and Mercury retrograde is agitating, Mars retrograde. And they're like, hey, we did it once. Let's do it again. This is so much fun. Let's just mess things up for everybody. There we go. Oh, I'm so glad these planets are starting to move direct. Okay, because I have a duke out battle with the god of war, Mars. I have a duke out battle with the god of war. Absolutely. Because he's been creating nothing but inflammation for me. My career is amazing. Yay. Okay. My health. So I am so grateful that these two planets are starting to move direct. All right. So let's talk about what that means. Okay. Well, ideally, because these two planets are the planets of movement, okay, we should start to see some movement forward in, certain parts of our lives where these two planets may be, activating or misbehaving more often. And to really figure that out, we would have to take a look at your individual natal chart. But overall, generally speaking, what this means is that we're probably going to start seeing more of this movement forward, okay? Now, let me just give you one more chance to look at the chart here real quick. Okay, so let's take a look. We're going to start with Mars. Okay, Mars is actually stationed today, which means that it is completely stopped in the sky, or from our perspective, it looks like it's stopped from the sky. It's not really stopped from the sky, but it looks that way. And it initially entered Gemini, and then it traveled to about here. and then it turned retrograde, and then it went back. Oops, not that far back. Let's try that again. Cancel, cancel, delete, delete. It entered, it traveled back. Okay, and now it's starting to move direct. Okay, it's stationing to move direct, and so it's going to start moving forward, but it won't actually leave Gemini until the end of March. So although Mars will be moving direct, it's still going to be in Gemini. And now it's going to have to account for all of the energy that it created for itself while it was retrograde and try to fix that before it enters into Cancer. All right, so now let's take a look at Mercury. Okay, here we go. So let's finish this. So here's Mercury. Okay, Mercury retrograde has been in Capricorn, right? It entered from Sagittarius to Capricorn. It came this close, and then it started to retrograde, and now it's going to station here in the next few days, and then it's going to start moving direct again. But ideally, okay, so let me just stop this real quick. So ideally, these two planets won't really start moving forward in a healthy way until like January 23rd, 24th, or 25th, okay? Because they have to, especially Mercury, it still has to travel through its shadow period. And so the shadow period won't be done until about 23rd, 24th, or 25th. But Mars has a little bit longer shadow period, and then it's not really going to leave Gemini until, like I mentioned, until March 23rd or 24th. So we still have Mars in Gemini, but it's way better than retrograde because things are going to start feeling like they are moving forward. Now, here's what I anticipate. Okay, so while Mars was in Gemini and it was retrograde, things probably weren't moving very quickly, right? And so you may have overcommitted, which you're going to find out pretty soon if you've overcommitted, because you said, well, that's not really happening right now, and that's not really working too fast, and that's not going anywhere. And then guess what? Yeah, it's all going to start moving much more quickly, but sporadic and maybe not as focused, although it's more focused than if it was retrograde. And this is for Mars. Okay. So you may start to find more focus, more attention moving forward, but you still may feel maybe a little bit overwhelmed with too many hands in the cookie jar, maybe too many projects, or you overcommitted, or you set too many intentions, and now you don't know which one to, focus on. Now with Mercury, that was with Mars retrograde. Now with Mercury retrograde, it's a typical Mercury retrograde, but this time it was in Capricorn. So it had to do with like contracts and finances and, processes. And so let me just say this, okay? My tub, okay, one of my tubs, okay, the faucet broke on it, right? Right at the beginning of Mercury retrograde. And I have had to deal with this for like 2.5 weeks because of the delay after delay after delay. And then we finally get somebody to come in and take a look at it. And then they're like, oh, well, the contract is blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, so I've been dealing with delays and contract issues. And then let me share with you. So I love my daughter. She's amazing. And she has beautiful, beautiful hair. She still has beautiful hair. She has beautiful, beautiful hair. But she went and she got a haircut during Mercury retrograde. Why does she not listen to her mother? Her hair is still beautiful, but it's going to take about 5 or 6 months for that to grow out, and good luck with that. But she still looks beautiful, don't get me wrong. But anyways, and then I have a beautiful friend who I'm not going to name because she knows who she is, who wanted to get a tattoo during Mercury retrograde. And a little witchy here, a little witchy there, and somehow her appointment got rescheduled till after Mercury retrograde, and after Mercury is out of shadow. Oh, thank goodness. I'm just saying, you're welcome. So this is the kind of stuff that we've been dealing with. Shutdown of, airlines. Okay. A lot of travel that's been, delayed, especially this Mercury retrograde because of Mars and Gemini. So there has been a lot of movement that has stopped, but moving forward, I anticipate that we're going to start to feel this movement forward. Mercury will turn direct in Capricorn. It's going to get its senses back and say, oh, wait a second, I need to be more, practical about how I'm doing things, not like all crazy wacky. And Mars is going to say, woo, all right, so we're moving direct, but I still have a lot to deal with. Yeah. So If you want to learn more about your astrology and how this energy may be impacting you, specifically, reach out. We'll work through an astrology consultation. I actually use this in therapy quite often. We use the archetypal energies to figure out where, some of the best parts of you are working out really well. Maybe some where the not so best parts of you are maybe needing a little bit of adjustment. So anyhow, you can find me at silvermooncounseling.org. That is silvermooncounseling.org. And that is it. I am out of here. I'm going to hold on for dear life for the next few days so that Mars can turn direct and get the heck out of my inflammation station, and Mercury retrograde too. So, all right, everyone, take care. Blessed be.